Welcome back, everybody, for your stimulus update for Wednesday, August 26th. We have for you today the most breaking stimulus news information we can give you because Mark Meadows just did an interview with Politico. It was live streamed 2 hours ago, and we are going to show you the portion of that interview in which he talks about the next stimulus bill package. And whenever we can get information from one of the four individuals who are in the negotiating room, either Steven Mnuchin, Nancy Pelosi, Chuck Schumer, or Mark Meadows, it is the best information we can give you. And so I'm going to show you that interview now, and I'm going to give you my analysis of everything he is saying.
We are in the midst of trying, as a government and us reporting on these negotiations, trying to cobble together some sort of COVID relief package. I'm wondering if you have had any conversations with Nancy Pelosi or Chuck Schumer in the last couple weeks since these negotiations broke down.
We have.
Okay, before he gives his answer, apologize for the sound. That is on Politico's end. That is not on my end. So he just asked him, have you had any conversations with Nancy Pelosi at all in the recent time since the negotiations have fallen through? So his answer is very important. So let's check out what he says.
Haven't. As you reported, I think that Secretary Mnuchin reached out to Speaker Pelosi. Originally, I think she said, well, if you'll meet us in the middle or cut it in half. We thought that might be an opening to open up the negotiations. She quickly changed that to say, no, she really meant the $2.3, $2.4 trillion package, but it's really without any guardrails or parameters. I mean, what she said to us in the room is, you give us the amount of money, we'll tell you how we're going to spend it. That's not how negotiations happen. Even if you're successful, that's not how they happen. We've reached out. I actually had my staff reach out again yesterday to Speaker Pelosi's chief of staff to say that we haven't heard anything from her. And so I don't anticipate that we'll actually get a phone call. I probably have had more, not only.
All right, let me just stop him right there. A few things he's saying. Number one, he's saying that Nancy Pelosi and her staff has not contacted him or Steven Mnuchin at all since the negotiations fell through. That's important because that lets us know the state of the negotiations. It doesn't mean it's over. Doesn't mean you're not going to get a stimulus payment. It just means that they're not talking to each other right now, which actually makes sense because we're reporting to you that the next important date for the stimulus is September 8th. I don't foresee negotiations picking up until September 8th. So if both sides are playing hardball, especially Nancy Pelosi, she's not really going to keep in much communication with these individuals until September 8th. Whenever you play hardball with negotiations, you make people wait as long as possible, and there's no real reason for her to contact them. So according to Mark Meadows, she hasn't, and it makes sense. He did say that his staffers reached out to them to figure out we haven't received any information, but they haven't gotten anything back. And then he also talked about this idea where Nancy Pelosi, and she's of course going around saying, listen, we told them we'll come down $1 trillion, you come up $1 trillion. And then he made an important statement. He said, but it's not really that. That's not the issue. The issue is she just wants the money. As the Congress, they have the power of the purse. And so it's not entirely unusual that Nancy Pelosi from White House staffer individuals, a part of Trump's administration, Mark Meadows and Steven Mnuchin, she just wants them to give her the money, and then the legislative body is going to decide what they're going to do with it. So she doesn't want any strings attached to it. Just let's meet in the middle with the amount of money. We'll write the new bill. They didn't like that idea. What they wanted is write exactly what it is. Where is this money going to? How long is it going to each part? How much money are individuals getting? PPP, state and local governments. Nancy Pelosi didn't want to do that. She just wanted to come down $1 trillion, you come up $1 trillion, and have that work. That obviously fell apart in negotiations. So that's what he's talking about. However you feel about that, you feel about that. But that is almost certainly what was going on behind the scenes. But he's going to continue on here. He's going to talk in particular about how House Democrats have been communicating with him on wanting to actually get something done.
Good conversations, but very productive conversations with Democrats on Capitol Hill, both on the Senate side and the House side, probably more on the House side just because I know a lot more of my former colleagues. And a lot of them want a deal and are being very, very reasonable in their request. I think if we got back in the room with some of their priorities, we could cut a deal. The president wants to do that. But I'm not optimistic. I think the speaker is going to hold out until the end of September and try to get what she wants in the funding for the government during the the CR or whatever funding mechanism happens to come up at the end of September.
A lot of interesting things there. Number one, talking to individuals in the House, Democrats. We already know that hundreds, at least 150 in three different types of organizations from Democrats in the House have sent off letters to Nancy Pelosi saying, please pass something. Even if it's less than what you want, the American people need help. And he's saying there's a lot of agreement because there is a lot of agreement. We have both conservatives and Democrats who listen to this channel, and there's a ton of agreement. Everyone agrees. Send out more stimulus checks to the American people. Continue the unemployment boost. Give schools money. Give hospitals more money. Do more research. Help state and local governments. We agree on so much in small business as well, PPP program. And we've been saying on this channel for the longest time, pass what you agree on, which is about $1.5 trillion. Mark Meadows and Steven Mnuchin will sign off a bill that is $1.5 trillion that includes all of the things that both sides agree on. And then there's a significant amount that they don't agree on, like an extra $750 billion for state and local government or additional money to go to different places. Those things we will figure out in November when the people of the United States vote for whoever we want to put in. But right now, pass what you agree on, and we will vote in November and put into power who we want. When he's saying he's talking to House Democrats and there's a lot of agreement, they're agreeing on all the same things we're agreeing on and just want to get it done. But he also continued on and he said, unfortunately, though, he doesn't have much hope that Nancy Pelosi is going to do anything legitimate until the end of September, and she's going to try to connect it to the federal funding. It is a part of the job of the Congress to make sure that the United States government is funded. And every year they have to pass a budgetary bill to continue to fund the United States government, usually at a debt, but that's okay. And that's what they keep doing. And they're going to start doing that at the end of September into October. And Mark Meadows is saying that he believes that Nancy Pelosi is going to try to attach the stimulus bill to that funding. Meaning, if you don't pass this huge bill of funding the government and the stimulus, then we're going to shut the government down. That's a possibility. She could try to put those together. And then if the Congress, the Senate, and the House both don't pass it, she could say, see, now they're shutting the government down and not passing the stimulus. But of course, on the Republican side, they're going to be saying, but you just attached your entire stimulus bill to the government funding program. That's not right. That's not fair. So he's saying he thinks that's going to happen. I hope for everything that is good that does not happen. There's one more piece of information that they're going to go through relating to the stimulus bill.
Now, let me just follow up really quickly because we're quickly running out of time here. But you reached out in the hopes of restarting negotiations, it sounds like.
Well, listen, we've had some good conversation with Democrats on Capitol Hill. I think there's some common ground. I'll have a call with senators. We're having a call every morning with Republican senators. I think in fact, I know they want a deal, and they're willing to make compromises. But it's really been Speaker Pelosi really driving this train as the conductor more so than anybody. And I think she talks privately that she wants a deal and maybe even publicly that she wants a deal. But when it comes to dealing with Republicans in the administration, we haven't seen a lot of action. In fact, we've seen no action.
There you go. That is the latest, most breaking information on the next stimulus bill. You saw it from Mark Meadows, one of the only 4 people who are actually in the negotiating room, from his own mouth. So how do you feel about that? It doesn't make me feel great. Obviously, he has his own agenda, his own bias as well. He's putting blame on Nancy Pelosi there at the end. But Mark Meadows is a very conservative, fiscally conservative guy. There's no doubt in my mind when he is in the negotiating room, he's not willing to budge on much either. Probably Steven Mnuchin is the one who's willing to budge a little bit more than Mark Meadows, and he's going to put complete blame on her. I thought from the beginning that they should have extended more money to the state and local governments. At least the Republican side should have. And they were a little stingy on that. And of course, they only wanted to do 200 or something on the unemployment boost, but they eventually went up to 400. So, they're stingy on their side too. But of course, he's saying that there seems to be no communication between the two sides. He feels like Nancy Pelosi might take this into the end of September and try to attach it to a federal budget to continue the government rolling forward. I think that would be a disaster. But like I said before, in my opinion, pass what you agree on. Let the American people decide in November. I think you guys agree with me. But September 8th, that is what we are waiting for, because that is when Congress is going to be back in session in their chambers. And that is most likely when negotiations will begin to heat up again. And either they're going to be good or they're going to be bad. If Nancy Pelosi wants to get the bill done before they start voting on the government budget, they're going to agree on what they can, and then they're going to just move forward with it. If they're not willing to do that, she may try to attach it to the federal government funding bill, and that's going to be another disaster, because then you could see them not passing that and the government essentially shutting down, which during a pandemic and during all this other stuff is just, it's simply not a good idea. I mean, it's not going to help anything out. So that's the latest we have on it. We will continue to bring you the breaking information. Whenever we have interviews from these individuals or more information to share with you, we will do that. Consider subscribing to the channel if you have not already. Like the video if you have not already. As always, I will catch you guys next time.